didn't know that there was more.
Technical error, just 1 second. Is it okay that if the Lexington people, you all mute your mic?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay, we are live.
Cool. All right.
He can't hear you though. You muted him.
Did I? No, I unmuted. I unmuted it.
Sorry, I was looking at the past. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was a little confused there. 1 second. Sorry, spam call. All right. Hey everybody, welcome to the second annual Kentucky Fried Pixels. What's up?
Just stand over here.
Sit over here. Oh, it just be seen in the web. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Welcome to the second annual Kentucky Fried Pixels. So for those who don't know, this is a combination 48-hour game jam and 1 month-long game jam. So we have joining us people from Lexington. We also have this site here, and then there will be some more people joining us tonight and tomorrow. So it's exciting. I'm going to give a presentation in a bit, but first I'd like to introduce Kyle Pulver. He is an indie game developer who has developed games like Offspring Fling. You're working on Super Sky Sisters right now, right? So that game's pretty cool. You can check out the development for that. So yeah, if you want to give a short little talk about some of the games you worked on, and then tell us a little bit about what you came up with for game jam advice and stuff like that. So
yeah, so I kind of rolled that into like one thing, I think.
Okay, cool.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Am I like rolling out now? Are we doing this right now?
Yeah, we're.
Okay, let me share a screen. And okay, let me know. Let's see. Okay, can you see this? I mean, you're muted now, so I guess. Okay, sweet. All right, so game jams and the creative process. These are some thoughts that I tried to put together as fast as possible in the past 3 days. This was sort of a presentation jam leading up to a game jam. And I'll try to keep this really brief so you guys can get the jam in as fast as possible, but I put a lot of slides into this thing, I'm sorry. Who am I? I am Kyle Pulver. I'm some kind of video game developer person. I'm an indie game developer. I've been making games pretty much since I was 12 and professionally since I was around 20. I make games under the name Kpulv. That's my company name, so that's what I use for making games. Probably my 2 biggest games. I worked on a game called Snapshot, came out on Steam a million years ago, and then another game I mentioned before, Offspring Fling, also a game that came out on Steam. Quick little prototypes. I also work in C#, and I maintain a game engine called Otter. It's an open source 2D C# thing. So game jams, make a game with some kind of theme usually in a short amount of time. Hopefully most of you knew what this was already. If not, you now know what a game jam is. So I'm gonna really quickly talk about my own experience with game jams. They've been a huge part of my career. I've used game jams to learn all sorts of cool ways to make games, GameMaker, Flash, Flashpunk, and now I'm on to C#.
So we can't hear you.
Can't see.
Or see you. We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay.
We can hear him, but we can't see his video. No.
Oh yeah, I think we ran into this earlier.
There it is. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We good? No, it's all good. Internet, whatever happens. Okay. So I think so like I'll just back up to let's see this one. Okay, so I've used game jams to learn a bunch of different ways to make games: GameMaker, Flash, Flashpunk, and now onto C Sharp. Game jams have led me to create some of my best games ever. Make a game. This is a game called Depict One. It came from Global Game Jam a really long time ago, but it ended up being the first game I ever made where it actually made money, and it went on to win the Game of the Year award from Newgrounds.com, which was really sweet. This is a game called Verge, and it came from not like a game jam, but more of a game making competition that took place over the course of a month with a theme. And this was how I learned Game Maker. I sat down for the month and I used the competition to figure out if I could make a game in Game Maker. And later, this game would also go on to be my second game that ever made me any money. This is a game called Super Ninja Slash. It also came from a game jam, and this turned out to be just like a free to play, like and not in a weird way, but just learning game for a game jam. And so I was able to release this game online, and it actually got a little bit of a community behind it for a little while, and there was sort of like an ongoing competition to see who could get the fastest time in the game. It went on to be my first ever solo published game on Steam. Okay, so I'm going to go through all the stuff that I've learned about my own creative process through game jamming. And I'm going to touch on all of these briefly, and one of them more than others. Constraints are the best. Failing often and failing fast. Don't overplan stuff. Don't care too much. Keep making stuff, and let the game guide itself. So quick disclaimer off the bat. Let's see. This is from my own personal experience at game jams, and this is what works for me. It might not work for everyone. I didn't put a lot of crazy research into this talk. I just kind of threw it together really quickly. So let's see what happens. So the first point, constraints are really cool. They are the best. For a lot of people, for a lot of creators, the blank canvas is the enemy of coming up with cool stuff. It just seems like there's too much that could possibly go onto this canvas. It's the lack of limitations which makes it so tough. There's this thing called decision fatigue, which I think the blank canvas lends itself to. Making decisions is incredibly mentally draining, and game designers often learn this right away. If you make a game with too many choices or too many decision points, you end up exhausting your players really, really quickly. It can also lead to something called analysis paralysis. When you have too many variables and your possibility space is just unlimited, it's impossible to make a choice. Deciding one thing amongst 100 or 1,000 is way harder than deciding amongst 2 or 3. So game jams really help bolster creativity both through the theme and the time limit. Okay, fail fast and fail a lot. Game jams are a great place to fall flat on your face. I have jammed a lot over my career, and it's important to note that not every game jam has produced my biggest hit game. I pointed out some examples of when game jams were successful for me, but for every one of those successful jams, I probably have like 5 to 10 not so great ones. But it turns out in order to find the right way to do something, you need to find all of the wrong ways to do it first. A lot of people don't see all of the failures that lead to an eventual success. And like I said before, game jams provide a really safe environment to completely screw up. You can try something new, you can do something weird, you can try a new technology you've never tried before, step into a new genre that you've never tried before. It's a great opportunity to basically leave your comfort zone, but what I've learned is that I like to only just keep one foot out of my comfort zone. I kind of learned this the hard way. I tried to dive into some radically different games after making platformers for a long time, and it just totally did not work. And now that I've backed up a little bit, I kind of realized that I should be slowly making my way out of my comfort zone instead of just trying to smash my way out of it. Evolve and progress yourself slowly over time. Don't rush it, or you're just going to get totally exhausted, and burnout sucks. So each new project or game jam can be one small step on the larger path towards improvement. And it's better to mess up on a 48-hour game versus a 3-year one. Okay, so this one I'm going to talk about a lot, so I'm going to drink some water first. Okay. Don't overplan stuff. This is one of the most important things I've learned over the past however many years I've been making games. The time constraints of game jams are super strict, right? Like you have to have your game done by the end. Otherwise, probably nobody's going to see it. You're not going to be able to show it off. So this pretty much makes over planning impossible. And I want to make it clear that I'm not saying don't plan at all or have no plans or have no idea what you're doing. Planning too much can really set yourself up for disaster. So I'm going to talk about motivation really quick. Motivation is an incredibly fickle thing. It's really hard to get a grasp of what exactly motivation is, and I've been trying to figure out what it is for me. Everybody knows that working with no motivation sucks, and you have to do it anyway if you want to get anything done. Sometimes this is called, or this is known as the grind, when you just you have to sit at your computer all the time making the game, even though you really don't want to. So for me, working by myself most of the time, keeping myself motivated is incredibly important to me. The key to my motivation from what I've tried to unravel for the past however many years is the perceived potential for new discoveries. So to try to put that more lightly, it's basically if I think that gold exists in the hills, then I'll keep digging, right? As long as I am under the impression that somewhere gold is out there, then I'll keep going. I'm not sure if you guys know what a Skinner box is, but really quick, it's this psychological experiment that kind of has destroyed humanity. But basically, there are different kinds, but the most important one for game design development and relevant to this is you pull a lever and you might get a reward. That might sound familiar. And more I'm realizing that this whole idea of like a Skinner box or pulling a lever for maybe getting a reward is everywhere. It's all around us all the time. It might look like this sometimes. And what I kind of realized is that creative work and game development is kind of like a Skinner box. I'm pulling the lever, hoping that it's going to give me a new discovery. It's going to be that next burst of motivation. Whenever I'm sitting at my desk, just coding away or drawing something for my game or just playing around with something, I'm pulling the lever, hoping that it's going to give me my next breakthrough or my next big discovery. So the point is, I don't want these discoveries to happen when I'm planning. If I plan too much, then I'm going to discover too much stuff early on and affect the discoveries I would have made later during my actual work. When I'm doing creative work, I want to be the explorer. I want to feel like I'm exploring new territory and I'm going to discover cool stuff. And if I overplan stuff, I'm no longer an explorer. I just end up being someone sitting at my desk with a bunch of boxes to check. And so I discovered that this is where my own like personal motivation can just totally die. And that's bad. When it feels like all the discoveries have been made and now it's just the work. It's just, I know where all the stuff is and I just got to get from point A to point B and it's totally boring. And without having this constant stream of discoveries, it doesn't really feel like much progress is being made, even though it might be. So this is probably playing really slowly for you, but it's it's laying train tracks down really fast. It's not to say that planning is inherently bad. Some stages of development do require careful planning. But when I have to plan, I try to only lay as much track as I need and nothing more. If I hit a technically complex task, like Offspring Fling has a replay system that I had to sit down and kind of figure out beforehand, I try to just keep it so that I'm only planning for the next immediate steps and not too far out, because I want to leave the potential for discovering cool stuff as I make that replay system, right? So I try to come up with just like an immediate to-do list, and I don't go too far out. And I want to make a distinction. I'm not talking about like moment-to-moment to-do lists. These things are more like, what am I going to work on today? Like, what are my immediate goals? Like, this type of planning is different. It's not the sort of like creative planning. It's more like you're being your own producer here. So this kind of like nearsighted planning helps with procrastination issues if you're having trouble getting started on something for the day. And it's more about keeping focused. And also this kind of stuff is used for like keeping track of what bugs you got to fix and all that kind of stuff. So it's totally different, but a little similar, I guess. Like I said, this talk was put together in like 3 days. So, but I think the same rule applies here. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. So whenever I was working on, this is from Super Sky Sisters, this list here. And this was pretty much, I would only write down what I was working on for the day, and that's it. And another disclaimer really quick. Oh yeah, what's up? Did you unmute? Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know if you were gonna like say something like everything's broken or something. No, you're good. So another disclaimer. Oh, what's up? No, I'm good. Okay, sweet. So one more disclaimer. I'm speaking from a solo developer or a really small team. This stuff probably doesn't apply if you have a team of like 100 people and you make sure everybody's on the same page all the time. So overall, what I'm trying to say is that over planning can lead to unrealistic goals and crazy expectations. And over ambitious goals and too many goals and goals that are just beyond your reach can be harmful to your own morale and then in turn your motivation to work. So it's not really that hard to see why. In the planning phase, it's incredibly easy to come up with crazy goals. Like, so say you're going to make this game and you start out thinking like, okay, we're going to brainstorm this game out. We're going to make our plans right now. Okay, it's going to be a platformer. And well, okay, so why not we just add crafting to it because people like crafting and we're just brainstorming right now. So this is our plan. We're going to make a bullet point that says add crafting. Well, okay, well, actually, well, if we're going to have crafting, then it should probably be like procedural and like the levels should be different every time. It should be like random. But then also, like, why not just have it be online too? Like, when we have an online game and then like everyone can join in and everyone can like start helping each other out and like defeating enemies and crafting. And well, crafting feels weird if you don't have like realistic physics, right? You want to have like boxes and stuff falling over, and you want to like see enemies get squished, and that's like super fun. Like I played a game like that the other day, so let's put that in our game. And then also like I like battlefields, so we should totally add vehicles too, right? Like yeah, that seems doable. Like that seems like a good idea. Yeah, like write that down. Vehicles like cool helicopter. But also like you can't have an online game without like being able to customize your avatars, right? Like if I want to put like a top hat on my piranha plant pet that I have in the game, then I should be able to do that. And also I should be able to script my own vehicle behavior, and also I should be able to like make my own levels. And then also like we should probably have RPG elements in there too, because like people like to feel like they're progressing, and also like turn-based battles are like totally way more approachable for most people than like action games. So, and then since we're doing an RPG, you should probably also be able to fight God, and um, and so you can see how this can quickly become a disaster. In the planning phase, it is incredibly easy to forget the weight of things. And it's understandable. It's the beginning stages of a project. It's when you sit down and you're like, I'm going to make a video game, and the possibilities are endless. Whatever you can write down on that piece of paper in front of you is what you're going to set your goals to be. It's all of the ideas and none of the work so far. So related to that, right now there's like, I guess it's kind of it's debatable, but there's research about the effects of telling other people your goals. And there's a theory that if you share your goals with people, it convinces you that you've already done them. Like sort of like the act of telling someone, I'm gonna lose like 15 pounds this month or something, like it triggers something in your brain that kind of suggests to yourself that, oh, you already did it. Like this is the same, like it's the same feeling that you get from actually doing it that you get from telling somebody about it. So I wonder if in this phase, it's sort of like you're telling yourself your own goals, and does that have the same effect? When you're getting excited about making this list of features for your next game, your dream project or whatever, are you convincing yourself that you've already done them? So back to this game where you have every feature imaginable, like how many times have you talked to somebody about this exact game? I feel like in my experience in like in the game development field and community, this has happened to me a lot. Like I hear about this game from somebody that they're working on. It has a zillion features. It's going to be the greatest game ever. And you ask like, oh, can I see it? Like, what do you have so far? Like, oh, well, I haven't started it yet because I'm still I'm still planning it out, and I haven't made it yet. And then you realize that they've been saying this for like 10 years. Um, like the planning, like over planning gives you all of the satisfaction with none of the work. So you can see how that's a little bit dangerous. The satisfaction from talking and planning too much can erode the satisfaction you would have had from actually making the thing. So overall, your motivation is just going to be dampened. A really quick example of like overambitious goals and stuff. There's this work technique called Pomodoro, and long story short, it's just like you try to work in small concentrated blocks with no distractions, and then you take a quick break, and then you work in another block, and you take a quick break, and that kind of thing. If you know what like time boxing is, it's pretty similar. So I wanted to try this out. So I looked up a bunch of stuff, and some people were like, uh, a good day on Pomodoro is like 16 Pomodoros a day. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I guess that's what I'll try for. If people are saying that's like the good way to do it, it's like people are saying like, oh, you should be working 40 hours a week, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. 16 Pomodoros a day. So for some reason, I set this as my first goal. I was like, I'm gonna shoot for that goal right away, and it was really hard actually. I ended up just getting like super frustrated because I could not even come close to that number most of the time, and then I ended up just being way too focused on hitting that number instead of actually like doing creative stuff. And in retrospect, I should have started with a very small goal, like 4, and then like maybe go up to 6. Because basically the failure to reach my daily goal just always bummed me out instead of making me feel good. And I also realized that maybe Pomodoro isn't exactly effective for all types of creative work. Sometimes time boxing just is not the right thing I need. And I mean, it makes sense. Like video games don't expect you to go beat the final boss right away. Like even though some of them will let you try that. Come on, Appearin, catch up. There we go. Oh, PowerPoint. Hello. Sorry, I think PowerPoint just freaked out for a second. I think we're good. Can you hear me still? Okay. Yep. Okay, sweet. So in regards to overplanning, the opposite effect should be noted, which is something I call the void. Be careful of getting into the void. Like too little planning will lead you to this state where you have no idea what you're doing, you don't know what to do next, and you're just sitting at your desk like totally with like you have no idea what's going on. It feels like you're just floating in space without any sort of direction on where to go next. So overall, it's not about like no plans. It's about just not over planning. So you have to reach a good balance. So you don't want too much planning, and you don't want too little planning. You want it just right. So back to my original point of like motivation stuff. My motivation mostly comes from never having the game feel too rigid. I want to keep it malleable for as long as I can. I don't want to feel like I'm putting it in the oven too soon, so to speak. I want to be able to feel like I'm an explorer for as long as I can, because that's the most fun for me. Is when I feel like while I'm working on my game, I'm still exploring the possibility space. But unfortunately, it will come. It comes to a time where exploration is not the answer anymore. When the finish line is approaching, either through a game jam deadline or a financial deadline or whatever is making you have to finish your project, you have to just buckle down and get to the grind. You have to just do whatever you can to get to the finish line. But as long as I can push that off for as long as possible, my motivation will stay pretty high throughout my work. Okay, so that was my longest point, I promise. This will go much quicker from here. Don't care too much. So a long time ago, Global Game Jam keynote 2009, Kyle Gabler gave this keynote that stuck with me ever since. It was my first like major game jam that I went to, and this slide like blew my mind. It was like caring too much can basically lead to self-sabotage. If you care too much about what you're doing, you will be afraid to fail and you will not make decisions that are best for your game. You'll make decisions that feel like they're best for your like in the moment emotional well-being. So this became known as a theorem. As love and effort increases, the probability of self-destruction approaches 1. You might know the phrase, don't get married to an idea, don't fall in love with your ideas. It's all about finding the right balance and not being afraid to fail. So love your work, but don't love it so much that you crush it to death. And keep an open mind as you work on your projects. You have to be like water. So game jams help you keep making stuff. And over lots of game jams, I've made so much stuff, and this has made me way better at making games than any other method of learning. Believe it or not, it's hard to understand, but you get better at making stuff by making stuff, not by thinking about it. There's this cool example that is from a book called Art and Fear, where there was a ceramics class, and at the start of the class, the teacher announced that the left side of the studio would be graded on the quantity of work that they produced. Literally, their grade would be based on the weight of all of their produced work. He would get out a scale and weigh all of the stuff that they made. And if they made a lot, it would be an A. And if they didn't make so much, it would be a lower grade. And then the other half of the class would be graded on one piece of, on just one piece. So the side of the class that was graded on quantity ended up producing much better work than the side that was told just to make their best possible one, because the side of the class that made a bunch of work just basically they just kept getting better every time they made something. Every time they would complete a piece, they would improve on the next one. They would learn something new. So game jams are basically the game dev equivalent of this story, right? You just keep making games because every time you make one, the next one will be better. PowerPoint, come on. Okay. Like I play a lot of Rocket League, and I know that I don't get better at Rocket League by only thinking about Rocket League, right? Like, and if I'm drawing a lot, then I know that to get better at drawing, I have to keep drawing. I can't just think about drawing. I can't like theorize the best possible drawing and then try to make that drawing. I have to keep doing it over and over again. So why would game development be any different? And keep in mind your progress will not be linear. You'll have a lot of dips and bumps on your slow progress towards becoming a game development master, I guess. Okay, here's my favorite thing to talk about. Let the game guide itself, or let the game take the wheel, let the game steer. There's this magical phase in game development that is my favorite, absolute favorite part to experience. It's when you finally figure out the right direction for your project and it starts becoming this like living, breathing thing almost. It has like a mind and a life of its own. It'll start to develop its own direction and its own voice, and your role as the creator, it changes from being this like you feel like you have to make every single decision to being this role where all you have to do is listen to what the project wants. And in a way, you end up phasing yourself out of the project entirely. And usually this happens when the game becomes playable for the first time. It's the first time you can watch somebody play your game without you helping them out, or without you sitting there like, you know, making sure it doesn't crash, or making sure that like doesn't break in different ways. It's this amazing like time where you get to just play test, watch people play your game, evaluate it, and then refine it. And you just get into this amazing loop where every time your game is just getting slowly and slowly better. And even like when you just play your game yourself, it inspires your next move. So this is like the game, like it starts to come into its own, and it starts to gain its own voice. And all you have to do at this point is just listen to what the game wants. Okay, so that's all the stuff I've learned about my own creative process. Here are some quick tips before the game jam. This is for me, again, this is what works for me at this point, after making games for a million years. So the first night, I try to make the entire game if I can. Time is limited, and it's more limited than I think every single time. I try to get the game system working. So if I'm making like a platformer, I try to make like the whole like platforming system be totally done on the first night if I can. I'm talking like with no graphics, just like squares moving around. And I try to spend as little time like planning on paper as possible. I try to like just open Visual Studio or whatever and just start making stuff like right out of the gate. And I try to prioritize the game's feel, like the controls and you know, that kind of stuff. If it's like a kinetic game that like you're flying around and that kind of stuff, like in the example of like Super Sky Sisters, I just sat down and made like 2 squares controlled by 2 different controllers right away, and just started tweaking it and going from there. Okay, so the rest of the time, if you successfully make like the game system the first night, then the rest of the time you have to refine and polish it, and to do stuff like art and graphics and sound and screen shake and whatever. In longer projects, a majority of the time is spent in this phase. So in game jams, it makes sense that the same ratio should apply. And I think the best games that I've made have come from game jams where I've been able to spend the most time in this feedback loop. Make the game playable without you. Make sure that people can play the game without you sitting there next to them, telling them what to do and how to play and what the controls are and that kind of stuff. Because if you have that goal in mind, I think you will make a much better game. You'll make a much simpler game than what you would have made if you have to have like a 20-page manual readme.txt file or whatever. And if you don't want to make a simple game, you want to make like a tactics RPG, that's totally cool too. It's a game jam, do whatever you want. But I like to make games that are as simple enough where people can just sit down and start playing and don't have to read anything or worry about like how to play. I'm going to reinforce this again. Get to the playtest refine loop as fast as you can. It is the most fun part to me. So that's my own personal goal as to why I try to go so fast. I try to get to this point as soon as I can because it's so fun. And if you want to make a finished game, stick to your strengths. Making a game at the end of a game jam is incredibly difficult. And like I said about the comfort zone thing, if you step too far out of your comfort zone in a 48-hour game jam, you might drown. It's going to be very hard compared to if you stuck with your strengths, whether that's like a programming language or a art style or a genre that you're really familiar with. If your goal is to make a finished game, then use all of your training to your benefit. So the last point I'm going to make is just take care of your games. Creative works are kind of like, to me, like they feel like raising kids or taking care of pets or something. You start off making sure that they turn out all right. You're trying to show them all the things that they could be. Like the potential is endless, right? And then they'll start to grow up and become something on their own. And all we can do is at this point is start to become supportive parents and give them direction when they need it, but also let them make mistakes. Don't be the overbearing, like crazy helicopter parent. Just let them go on their own and listen to them, help them, and trust that they will turn out all right, even if they turn out a little bit different from how we imagined them at the start. That's it. Yeah, I'll leave this up for a few seconds if anyone wants to like, I don't know, grab any of these URLs or whatever. It is Art and Fear, which is it's on this list. Oh, also really quick, I'm going to note the last one on this list because I didn't directly mention it, but this book called Creativity Inc. It's by version of it. It's so good.
Can you repeat that? You cut out for a second.
Okay. The last one on this list is Creativity Inc. I didn't directly mention it, but it's really good.
Okay.
And it's by one of the founders of Pixar.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. Those are definitely ones should check out. That was awesome. Can we have another round of applause for that? Okay, great. How is everything on your end? Other Kentucky people?
Groovy.
Yeah.
What's that?
We're groovy.
Hey, cool.
We're fun.
They're groovy.
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 Awesome. So I wasn't sure if you were interested in like a Q&A thing, Kyle. I mean, I don't know how much longer you have. Probably should only take like a couple minutes if we were to do something.
Yeah,
but does anybody have like a question or two? Anything? So,
Do you have like a PDF or link to the PowerPoint that you made?
do you have a link to the PowerPoint?
Not at the moment, but I can totally make that happen like right after this.
Cool. Yeah, just email it to me and I'll put it up on
Yeah,
the
I'd
meetup
love to see
page
it.
and
Yeah,
I'll share it with everybody.
Yeah, basically everything I said is also in the notes section for every slide. So, like, yeah, the whole talk is pretty much in this presentation.
Okay, cool. Do you have anything that you wanna do any self-advertising?
I mean, I don't know. I make games. My website is kpulp.com.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do it for you. Is Sky Sisters coming to Linux?
Like I won't say it's like 0%, but like I pretty much would need like I would need like a Linux deity to like come down from the heavens and like
You need Ethan
make
Lake?
a build or something.
Well, you use your own game engine that supports Windows right now.
Yeah, like technically it does run on Mac and Linux, but I just don't know how to do that right now.
Thank you.
But like Sky Sisters in general is kind of like in like I kind of like put it on a hiatus for a little bit because I'm working on like a contract thing right now. And so like what I'm working on right now is like a secret, but I think at PAX it will no longer be a secret. So that's like my self-advertising right now is like I'm announcing an announcement.
Get ready for me to say something.
Alright, we'll just do one more question and then we can start the
Lexington?
our PowerPoint. Did any Lexington people have questions? Did anyone ask? No? You had one?
Yeah, so Kyle, your description of sort of letting the game speak to you and kind of letting it direct you sounds a lot like Stephen King's description of how he really doesn't direct characters. He comes up with the idea for a character and then lets it speak to him. And it's something that I have never, ever experienced in my life. So what advice do you have for those of us who aren't so lucky as to have that experience?
I think definitely it didn't happen for me like right away. Like, I think it happens more when you start to really dig into what you find your strengths to be. Like for me, it definitely happens way more when I'm making like a platformer game that's like an action-y platformer game than anything else. I would just try. I think also it depends on how much friction you have when you make something. And I'm talking about like when you're. It's like for me, I'm using my own engine in C#, and I'm super familiar with it. So like whenever I change stuff, or want to change stuff, or want to fix something, it's usually very quick. I can see how like if you're writing something like in that example of like a character, like writing is just you just got your hands on the keyboard and you're just letting it happen. Hopefully. So yeah, I would try to look at like your workflow and see if there are like any like hitches in it that make it so that it takes longer for you to like transfer what's in your brain to the computer, and just keep. I don't know. I think it comes over time. Just like keep refining stuff, and I think it also helps when you make a game that you want to play yourself. like all of my games are usually games that I like playing, so then I have no problem just like opening it up and playing for like a half hour or something, and then seeing like, okay, well I think I need to do this, this, and this now. Yeah, I think that's. Does that help?
Yeah, thanks.
That's great.
Cool.
Thank you again for all the advice. It's all really great. Exactly what we were looking for. That type of advice. So, who here that's participating is it's their first jam? Anybody? 3 people. How about in Lexington? Anybody there? It's their first jam.
Is it your first jam, guys? Yeah, we got 2 here that it's their first time.
Great, then that's
Nice.
perfect. Cool. All right. Yeah, definitely lots of cool stuff to learn from that. So we'll get into the PowerPoint presentation here, and then that's when we'll announce the themes. We have 2 themes, and a list of diversifiers. So the way those work with this jam is, since this is kind of a free-form jam, you don't have to use those themes if you don't want to. You can. So if you're working on Kyle, the thing with Kentucky Fried Pixels is that you can either bring a game in that you've been working on, or you can start a new game. So some of us, I'll be starting a new game with my partner. Some of us here might be starting a new game. Some are bringing an old one in and working on that. And especially for people that are starting new games, and you mentioned this during your PowerPoint, that sometimes that choice, you get a little overwhelmed, and sometimes it's good to kind of put yourself into a limitation of like, yeah, you have this theme, you have to work within it. So we have a couple things there that helps people that are starting new games get started. So,
Cool.
So I'll share the screen on my end. Can everybody see that?
Well, I can see me.
You can see you. Well,
That was too much content.
Hi, welcome to Kentucky Fried Pixels. Can everybody in Lexington see this?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so
Really quick.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much.
So thanks for having me, and happy jamming, everyone. Good luck, have fun, and if you have any questions about anything I said or whatever, you can email me or tweet me, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm reading book.
At Kyle Pulver on Twitter. I guess I have that here. Actually, yeah, I have your Twitter account here. So that's Kyle.
Oh man.
Right. I just took your Twitter avatar. All right. Cool.
Wow, I didn't realize people would be using that photo like that. Maybe I should change it.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thank you again.
All right. I'll see you.
All right,
See ya.
bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Cool. Game jams, how we do them, and why you're now officially awesome. So this is the second time we've done Kentucky Fried Pixels. If you've done game jams with us before, it might have been Global Game Jam or Ludum Dare, something like that. So this is a little bit different than those, like I described earlier. You don't have to start a new game. You can if you want. If you've got a project you've been dying to do for a really long time, and you just want to like spend 48 hours or a month and get it done. Like, this is your opportunity. If you don't know what you're doing, you're not in the wrong place. So let me start just by introducing the space a bit. So this is Warp Zone. This entire area you're in is Warp Zone. This is a game development co-working space. Just a couple notes. If you're here, you agree to the code of conduct. It's printed up there and it's available on our site. Basically, it just tells you what you shouldn't do when you're in this space, along with rules for the space. So we don't have a whole ton of rules. Just don't venture past the bathrooms, unless you're going to the street. Don't do anything that'll get our lease, like get us out of our lease. Like don't get us kicked out of the space. It's really nice. So this is actually false. There's no. You're not allowed to use the bathroom in the space. There's the 2 down the hall. So if you need to use the restrooms, go out that door right there.
Is that the door you were talking about?
What?
That door you were talking about earlier.
I don't think I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't go in there. There's a bathroom down the hallway. So go out that door right here, and then go down the hallway. You'll see there are two doors on your right. Just follow the hallway. You'll down. You won't miss it. We have a refrigerator, coffee maker, and a water cooler. Feel free to use anything. If it's not marked in the fridge, like if somebody's name's not on it, it's free game. So if you do have something in there that's yours, put your name on it, because that means somebody can take it. Do you have any more cookies left? We had cookies.
There's a box. So quick note about this weekend: alcohol in the space is fine. There's one rule that we have about alcohol. If you own the alcohol and you bring it into the space, you're responsible for either taking it with you when you leave or locking it up somewhere. Locking it up somewhere means the lockers, or taking it with you. But don't leave it in the fridge or leave it out. There's a chance that we have members who are not of drinking age, and we're not allowed to have anything in the space when everyone is left, unless it's locked up in the lockers. And if anybody needs to use the locker, let me know. The ones with the orange keys in them, you can borrow that. I'm gonna make sure that you hold on to the key. There's like a $30 fee for us to get a key remade, and that will be charged to you. So be really careful with the keys.
That microphone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So while you're in the space, feel free to use any of the desks, power strips, and we have free high-speed Wi-Fi. So if you don't get the password and wireless name here, it's printed on that wall, and there's one in the other room. You can connect to it from there. Anything about that? Anything else about the space?
Hours?
Oh, right, the hours. So the schedule for the jam. I think at the earliest we'll probably do like 10 a.m. We'll open 10 a.m. in the morning. We're probably gonna only have a member here up until about midnight. So if you're not a member and there's no members in the space, unfortunately you'll have to leave. But that shouldn't happen until at least midnight. Somebody might stay here later. Just if you see a member here, just ask them and see what time they're leaving. So
Raise your hand real quick if you're a member, so that people know who to watch out for as far as like being in the space. Also ask me questions if you have any questions.
yeah, and I'll go over the facilitators in a little bit.
Cool.
So yeah, if there's a member in the space, you're allowed in here. So we'll be opening probably at 10 a.m. Check on the Slack if you're on the Slack to see if anybody's come earlier. There might be a chance of that, but I can't guarantee that like at 9 a.m. There'll be someone here. So and then same thing goes to about midnight on Saturday, and then on Sunday same deal, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., which is when we'll be doing presentations. So licensed people, if it's okay, we do a stream with you all on that day, and
Sure.
then we'll all share our games there. So yeah, so if you're interested in becoming a member of Warp Zone, you are able to purchase a membership for $100 a month. And we recently, can I talk about that? Company?
Yeah, sure.
So if you are in a group of 3 or more people, you can purchase a company membership. It's $65 a month.
Per person?
And,
Per member.
Per member,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, and you have to have a minimum of 3 members. There are a couple little caveats to it, but if you're looking for a more affordable way to do it, you have a group of people you want to come in with, you can purchase a different membership site. So it's $100 a month for the standard. You get 24/7 access. You get to run public events in the space. That's the 2 benefits of being the $100 a month member. You get to use Warp Zone as your mailing address. Yeah. So anything else I can go over with that? No. So just to go back to the code of conduct real quick. So Warp Zone has a group of people known as facilitators. There's somebody in the community that if you're having an issue with something or someone, or like any type of problem, either with the space or with another member or with somebody in the community, you can go to them. If you're a facilitator, raise your hand. Cool. So any of us you can come to privately and talk about any issues you might be having. So what is a game jam? So specifically the game jam you're in right now is the Kickoff jam. So we have 2 jams. 48-hour kickoff jam. That's where you are right now. And the 1 month long development jam. You can do one or both, doesn't matter. If you're here, you're probably doing the first one. The 48-hour jam. The 48-hour jam this weekend, you don't have to work on a new game, like I said before. If you are working on a new one, come up with something small and manageable, just like Kyle kind of described, doing something something within scope, and just getting it working. So with the jams, you can choose to use one or all of the themes, and the diversifiers, which aren't really themes, they're just kind of like little extra bits you can add to your game for some challenge. Some of them are really cool, so I think that, I would encourage you to use at least one of them. So we're gonna do like a little thing at the presentations on Sunday of like the best use of some of these diversifiers. So I would encourage you to use those. So some advice for people who are working on some older games that they've been dying to work on. You can add a feature or something to a game that you've started already. Flesh out an old game jam. If you've done like Global Game Jam or Ludum Dare, and you like really like that idea, this is your opportunity to like take it further. Try something new within an existing game. Like you've got this game that you've been working on, but it needs something, and maybe you can use this as an opportunity to kind of hack something in and make something really cool. And you can still include all the themes and diversifiers. I would almost encourage you to. So the 1 month long jam, the jam doesn't stop here. On Sunday when you go home, at like 9 p.m. after the jam and the presentations are over, you don't have to stop, unless obviously you want to. Continue working on it. Continue working on your idea. This is an opportunity for a lot of people. They need encouragement to really like flesh something out, make something cool. Oh, that date's wrong. Sorry, I took this from last year's PowerPoint. You have till July 9th. So it's not the 3rd, it's the 9th. To submit your game. I'll go over submitting your game in a few minutes. Multiple games are accepted. So if you want to work on like a game every day for the next month, that's fine. Good luck. But that's fine. If you want to submit 30 games to the bundle, or to the jam, you can. So I'm going to go over really quickly how to submit your game onto itch. So this is a little different than if you were doing like Ludum Dare or Global Game Jam. We're actually using itch.io's Game Jam feature. So Kentucky Fried Pixels 2 is on itch.io. I'll show the link in a moment, so you can just go down to itch.io. Right after this presentation, I encourage everybody go register. If you have your computer open now and you're not registered for itch.io, like do it now, because you're gonna like stress out about it like last minute, and then realize you've had your face in code for too long. This is the URL to get to the jam page. When you get there and you have an account registered, go on Join Jam.
Okay, so I was checking out that page earlier today,
Yeah.
and it was saying 2016 on that one too.
Was it?
Yeah.
That would have been KFQ1.
This one says.
Oh yeah. That's because it's from this specific picture is from last year. But here, let me show you. I'll show you really quick.
See if I'm full of it.
So if you go to the site.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. See.
Okay.
2017. I could correct it if it really goes wrong. So you'll see it'll end at July 9th at 11:59 p.m. You have 1 month, 3 hours, and 35 minutes to submit your game. So you can get more information about the game. I'll edit this once this presentation's over to have the themes and diversifiers on it. So if you miss it here, you'll get all the information. So yeah, go on here. You might have seen an old URL with KFP-2. I changed it to KFP2. So go with this URL. Then when you hit join, you'll see this, submit your project. Hit submit your project. If you've already created an itch page for your game, that's okay, because you can just hit choose an existing game and then click the game. If you haven't, that's okay too. You just hit the submit new game button, and then it'll take you to, oh, here we go, existing game or create new game. So you just upload your game. It takes like less than 5 minutes. It's super quick. No, like seriously, like if you don't have an itch account, like go make it now, because you will forget. It's the same with every jam. People are stressing out at the end to submit their games and register for an account. In this case, you know, thankfully the site won't go down like it will for Living Dare or Global Game Jam. That's usually a pretty common problem. But in this case, it's like there's no reason to stress out about it if you just did it early. No real rules for this jam, except the number one rule: you have to own all the content in your game. It's that simple. You can purchase art. You can put in public domain art. If you have permission to use a piece of copyrighted material, please put it in with your game. Put it in the credits. Make sure there are credits in your game. Because we will be evaluating to make sure, because at the end of this, there will be a bundle which we'll be selling for money. And if you submit a game that has like Sonic the Hedgehog in it, like you're not getting accepted. Or Bubsy the Bobcat, who recently came back. So if you are submitting, so before the jam is over and you've got your game ready to go, make sure that you're able to play your game on at least one of these. So either web or desktop. So make sure at least one of those works. You can do other ones like Android or iOS or whatever, but like these are probably the two most important, because that's going to determine whether or not a lot of people are going to be able to play your game. Just upload your game like the last day, like Sunday morning. Like just upload your freaking game. I can't stress enough. Register for an account and upload your game early, because you can fix it later. Like if there's some bug with your game that's preventing it from running, like just submit it and you can fix it later. Because then you'll at least have something up that people can download. So after the weekend, keep going. Like you're awesome. You have till July 9th to finish your game and like just stay motivated. Approximately 1 month, just to kind of give some time to get promotional material and stuff together. Approximately 1 month after July 9th, we'll be bundling up the games for money. 100% of the proceeds will be split amongst the teams evenly. So you can submit 1,000 games to the bundle and it's not going to give you a bigger cut. It's team based, so if you're working with someone else, if there's 2 people working on a game, that'll be 1 cut of the proceeds. So yeah. And this is why I can't stress enough, like make sure you own all the intellectual property in your game. If you're using like Super Mario sprites, like replace them, so that way they're not in the final product. What else? There was one more thing I wanted to go over. Sorry.
Do you have pictures